And welcome to the Blue Room with Nisa. I'm Nisa. Welcome back to my page. I just want to start off by saying thank you so much. This is the video that I've been talking about in my previous two videos. This is part one of two when we're going to talk about the pro-life versus pro-choice. This debate is very emotional, it's very guttural, it's very political. I'm not doing any of that. Normally, and often historically, when people are arguing pro-life versus pro-choice, it comes down to when does life begin. So in order to do that, to understand that, we have to understand what life is, and then through the science of embryonics and embryologists, we'll talk about when that actually is scientifically defined. The second video that I'm going to do is going to be more about the myths versus the facts and how to kind of defend our faith in relationship to some of the myths or preconceived notions, okay? So let's get to the life part. I want to preface this again by saying I don't represent the Catholic Church on a whole. I don't represent the Catholic Diocese of Lansing, nor do I represent my parish. I am not a medical doctor, and I am not giving you any medical advice. I am simply regurgitating information that I have found. I will put, I found a really good article from Princeton.edu by an embryologist who goes into very great detail about our sex cells and how they develop and how they come to meet one another and what happens in that magical moment. I know people think the magical moment is before that, but honestly, all the magic happens when the romance is over, and it's just two cells meeting one. So I will put the link to that article in the comment section. That way you can read through it. What I'm going to do here today is try to eliminate some of the science-y stuff and make it more palatable for everyone. So let's start with the sperm comes from a man. A sperm has to be a mature spermicide. As it goes through its developmental stages, take, for example, a 6-year-old male will have sperm. It is not ready to fertilize an egg. It's not mature. It's an immature spermatozoa. Then you've got the woman with her oocyte, or we'll call it an egg from this point forward, with her egg. So when she was in her mommy's belly, she had like 7 million eggs. And by about 5 months into mom's pregnancy, that baby had 7 million of its own eggs. At the time of birth, that number is cut more than in half, and then by the time a girl reaches her puberty and begins menses, that number's cut even again. So there is a natural development to our sex cells, and just like there's a natural development to our bodies. So the body that you see now, Nisa, has 46 chromosomes. And when I'm talking about chromosomes and complete people and individuals, again, broad sweeping terms, I am not in any way ignoring or casting shade. I'm not on people there. I know that there are genetic differences, and like specifically with Down syndrome folks, they got extra sprinkles when the recipe was being made, and it's beautiful. So when I'm talking about the 46 or chromosomes, or the 23 and 23, just know it's broad sweeping terms just for the sake of defining life, okay? I'm not negating anyone else's life if they're chromosomally deficient or extra. Let's just say that, because that's the world we live in. Okay, so when a sperm carrying its 23 chromosomes, because sperm only ever carry 23 chromosomes, so half of dad's genetic code, and you can have two sperm competing, swimming, the race is on type of thing, and this one has 23 chromosomes and this one has 23 chromosomes, but they may not be the exact order or genetic code. That's why siblings are different. So 23 from dad, and then the egg has shed 23 of its own because it is now at its maturest stage. And so you've got a sperm and an egg, each with their 23 chromosomes, and they meet. In that moment of meeting, those 23 and 23 become 46. That's basic math. Okay, so you have 46 chromosomes. You now have the playbook or the recipe for this human being. This is now a human being, a single-celled living being with all of the genetic code. Everything that person's going to be, whether it's brown hair, brown eyes, blonde hair, blue eyes, red hair, green eyes, this 46 chromosomes and all of its beauty is what made Nisa Nisa. It's all Nisa all the time, right? So the 46 chromosomes that I was when I was a zygote, which is when sperm and egg meet and do this, and now they've blended those chromosomes, each of them contributing, that's a zygote. So Nisa's zygote had 46 chromosomes. Those 46 chromosomes said, you're only ever going to be 5 foot 6 inches tall. Sorry, Basketball Jones. You are going to have wickedly curly hair that is horrendous in the humidity. Sorry about that. You're going to be snarky and intelligent, but you're also going to be kind of jaded and rough around the edges. It was in the recipe book. It's not my decision. I didn't make this up. These are the rules. But zygote Nisa looks very different from newborn Nisa, which looks very different from 8-year-old Nisa, which looks starkly different from 16-year-old Nisa, and different again now at 51, and hopefully, because it's not going to happen today, starkly different at the end of my life. It's development, okay? So from the moment that joins, your genetic code is written, your recipe book is ready. That single cell immediately begins firing off proteins and enzymes required to continue to develop. That right there is part of the criteria for life. So for something to be considered alive, it has to reproduce, it has to defend itself, that's our immune systems, it has to continue to grow and develop from creation to death, and there's a couple other nuanced things, but reproduction, growth and development, and defense. Now, when I say defense, I don't mean you've got a baby inside mama's tummy with a sword and a shield going, oh, bring it on. No. This is our immune systems. So in that moment, when the 23 from dad and the 23 from mom meet and come together, you have a life. Because it is genetically different from dad and genetically different from mom. It is its own genetic individual, and it is alive. It is alive because it automatically begins reproducing, and it starts firing off all those proteins and all those enzymes needed to make this mess of curly hair that's straight today. I'm aware, leave me alone. The poop brown eyes, the only 5 foot 6 inches tall, all of the components, right? My brain, heart, lungs, spleen, liver, everything is in that recipe book and is driven by that genetic code and those proteins and enzymes. Now, people will say it's not really life, it's a clump of cells living, or even worse, it's a clump of mom cells. Okay, so no, genetically individual from mom and genetically individual from dad. It is not just a clump of cells, it is a genetically created human being. Well, but the mom's not pregnant until those cells implant themselves into her womb. Okay, so let's talk about pregnancy and implantation. Implantation is a fallacy. The moment that those two cells meet and those chromosomes are now 23 and 23 or 46. That moment, that zygote, that is life. That is pregnant, you have created life. You've created life right then. Right then. It still has some traveling to do, and there are 1,000,001 things that could go wrong between now and then, but you're still pregnant. Right then and there, you're pregnant. So the reason you're pregnant became a thing, or when does pregnancy occur? So that definition is all a result of in vitro fertilization, so with in vitro fertilization, they have a petri dish, and they put mom's egg in it, and then they implant dad's sperm in it, and those 23 and 23 meet and make 46, and we're so excited because that's a baby. It's a baby. It doesn't look like a baby as we know it, but for its developmental state, it is perfect in every way. Okay, so it's doing all of the things it's supposed to do. It's begun its growth and development. It's begun to defend itself. It's begun to reproduce because those cells are reproducing at an exponential rate. So then the doctor takes baby out of the petri dish and implants into mom, and that is why we say, oh, you're pregnant at implantation. No, because when baby's in the petri dish still, mom's not pregnant. Mom's still a mom because that's her baby, but she's not pregnant yet. So it's that act, right? With natural, non-medically assisted, there is no that moment. There's no taking and putting in. It was created in there. You're pregnant right from day one. Boom, shakalaka. Congratulations. At that moment, when your genetic code is all complete and your instructions are there and now things are happening and things are happening fast, like you think fireworks happen in the bedroom. Oh, no. Fireworks are happening in those cells, and it's amazing. It's amazing how quickly and beautifully things just come together to where you go from a single cell living organism to the tadpole, well, the tadpole looking thing, to a beautiful bouncing baby boy or girl. And did you know that in this moment when we're just now brand new 46 shiny chromosomes, our gender's already determined. Dad's in charge of that. So dad either gives us two X's or an X and a Y. That is why we know that some sperms are different than other sperms, because we don't always have boys and we don't always have girls. So that genetic code comes from dad for our gender. If I were to fly to Mars today, probably on a broomstick, I'm just kidding. If I were to go to Mars today and I found a single-celled organism that was producing enzymes and proteins and was trying to drive its own growth and had an immune system or an immune type mechanism or defense mechanism, the world would go crazy because NASA had just discovered life on Mars. Just did it. I did it. That was me. I was right there. See? Look what I found. Look what I found. Can you see it? Right there. Yeah. Why then isn't it the same here on Earth where like people really are? I'm just saying. So the science is simple. It can get very complicated when you go through like everything that the sperm has to do to go from the genetic primordial ew to implant or to fertilizing a mature egg. Same with the eggs. They walk 500 miles. I mean, they have a journey and a development, and if you were to remove an egg from me right at this moment, it would have all of my genetic coding in it because it's 46 chromosomes. It's not until it's matured and I've ovulated it and it is ready to be fertilized that it becomes only 23 chromosomes. And that is a process called meiosis. It is different than mitosis. Look it up. I'm not going to explain it. And actually, the article I'm putting in the comments right down below, right there, will explain it beautifully. So, life isn't meant to be determined by theologians or ethicists or psychologists or movie stars, rock stars, politicians. No, that's not how science works. Unfortunately, your money can't buy facts, and your agendas don't work because it is scientifically proven, scientific fact, research, studies, proven. When 23 chromosomes delivered happily from that sperm meet up with 23 chromosomes from the eagerly and awaiting egg and make 46 chromosomes, you have life. You have life. Life has begun. And people will say, well, it doesn't doesn't even look like a baby yet. No, it doesn't. And it shouldn't, because it is exactly the way it's supposed to be for its developmental stage. Just like I was at 3 months old, exactly the way I was supposed to be for my developmental age. And when I am 95, God willing, I will look exactly like I'm supposed to for my developmental age. We develop from the moment of creation until the end of our life. That's how life works. We continue to grow and develop in different ways. Now, there are anomalies, and there are, the recipe gets read wrong. Things happen. And every sperm that meets every egg doesn't always create life, because sometimes the sperm doesn't make it through that outer shell. And eggs have a tough outer shell, I'm just saying. And sometimes the genetic composition isn't coded correctly to sustain life. And oftentimes, Mom won't even realize that process had started, because nature will just take care of it. But when it works and the cells hit the cells, and in that moment, in that very beautiful moment, a whole new life is created. And it should, left unattended and unfettered and not poked at or chemically altered, should develop into a beautiful bouncing baby boy or a lovely princess daughter. Now you know what life is. Now you know when it starts. So if you're faced with that challenge of having to debate or educate somebody who's maybe not on the same side of the fence that you are, perhaps this will help. Just remember, that person is one of God's kids too. That person who's so militant and emotional and screaming and hard to talk to, they're one of God's kids. So I love them. So be nice to them as well. I don't love yelling, and I don't love hate speech, and I don't love any of that. But I do appreciate and admire the fire and the passion, because can you imagine, just imagine if you will, if you, armed with some of this information that we've talked about today, or to be able to sway that person, and then they hopped the fence and decided, you know what, maybe I do want to defend life from the womb to the tomb. And they attacked that. They defended life from the womb to the tomb with that fire and that passion, but only on the other side of the fence. Man. All right. This is Nisa from In the Blue Room. I hope you guys have had a great week. I will see you probably in a few more days with some Margaret Sanger stuff and Guttmacher Institute stuff and other things that you probably should know about. I think I'm going to do it in here are the myths, here are the facts, and probably have a whole big page of where I got my information from for you. But anyway, check your facts and go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me so you can make sure to see the next part. And I will see you next time on In the Blue Room with Nisa. Take care. Bye-bye.